Hey everyone, AstroNerdBoy here, and I wanted to talk about a rumor that went around a few days ago about the Harry Potter franchise being rebooted and with a new cast. It's being reported that Warner Brothers Discovery has plans to reboot the Harry Potter film franchise with recasting. I mean, I swear, Hollywood, there's, I'll talk about some issues I had with the Harry Potter movies in a second, but it's not enough, I don't think, to redo it. But anyway, that aside, fans had difficulty knowing which direction Harry Potter franchise would take following the most recent Fantastic Beasts film, which I did not watch at all. I was not going to watch it at all. By the way, this is from Screen Geek. Now, according to a new report, it appears the future of the Harry Potter film franchise is nothing more than a reboot. This news comes via Scooper WDW Pro, who first shared details about the alleged reboot plans on Twitter. And not only did he state Warner Brothers Discovery wants to reboot the Harry Potter franchise, but it would also include recasting as well. Well, you'd have to if you're going to reboot the frickin' franchise. I mean, from scratch. There's really not much you can do. Here's what he had to say before sharing additional details. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly looking to reboot the Harry Potter film franchise, including recasting in the next 3 to 5 years. And then this is his Twitter post. We will release some details of how I became aware of this information, presented by a source on whoever that Valiant Renegade channel. Renegade, maybe? Not Renegade. Whatever channel, which I did not follow. But wow, this came out quite a few days longer ago than I thought. But it only got attention just a few days ago, just before New Year's. At least that's when the buzz hit me. So if you already knew about this, I apologize for the wasting your time. But for me, it was all new news. As for additional details, those were shared by the Valiant Renegade YouTube channel. They spoke at greater length about Warner Brothers' plans for the Harry Potter universe, otherwise called the Wizarding Division. It seems extremely likely that the Harry Potter universe, which I think internally is called the Wizarding Division, is receiving a reboot in the future in terms of the movies. And that may also include recasting some of the roles that have become iconic inside the Harry Potter universe with major actors and characters. Fans might think this means another spin-off, much like Fantastic Beasts. However, this isn't the case. They specifically mean a new interpretation of the original storyline. You don't need an original interpretation. That is rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. But I digress. We're not talking about Fantastical Beasts. We're not talking about some of these ancillary Harry Potter things. We're talking about what is referred to inside the industry as core Harry Potter. At this point, they elaborated what recasting means. As it turns out, this refers to new actors for the classic characters associated with the franchise. You're looking at that original cast: Harry, Hermione, Ron, new cast starting over. However, it is also noted that the project is in the very early stages of development. As such, it might not be as strict of a reboot as expected. The way they reboot this franchise does not have to be your standard fare reboot, where we go back to the origin of the characters we've already had an adventure with. There are many different ways they could do that, and we're not here to tell you that we know what it is yet. They're not even close, I would think, to being at that point, he continued. In fact, according to the source, they don't even have sort of the James Gunn individual in charge of this. That's part of what they're aiming for. In case fans might be wondering why Warner Brothers Discovery would even consider rebooting the Harry Potter franchise in the first place, especially since the original films have become such a respected piece of pop culture. As it turns out, they simply want to revitalize the brand for younger audiences. None of this sounds even remotely any good. They feel like perhaps the original Potter fandom is kind of aged out and they want to revitalize or refresh this or make something new to drive new audiences to the theater. They continued, from the standpoint of the OG stuff, the core Harry Potter stuff, I mean, it's a dormant franchise. And that's particularly why we are being told that in the next 3 to 5 years, they're looking to reboot this thing. Because all the other stuff inside this Potter universe, inside this Wizarding division at Warner Brothers Discovery, it's not taken off the way that they need in order to sustain the franchise, he elaborated. And they have far too much invested in the franchise for it to become dormant or secondary. They want it to be a very strong evergreen property. And by that, we mean it's selling all the time. That's always at the top of the mind of consumers. Finally added, and because they have not been able to get the other stuff, these sort of secondary things off the ground and gain momentum that they had with the originals, the thinking is that that it is time for Hollywood to get over this fear of recasting, and so they're all ready to do that. It seems as though fans will have several years to see how this potential Harry Potter reboot develops, but with the perceived failure of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, this isn't exactly unbelievable news. The original Harry Potter books were always a big moneymaker for Warner Brothers. Now it looks like they want to more directly revisit the well. And, all right, so initially it sounds like they were going to start over from scratch. And to be honest, when I started watching the series on the movies, I did not read any of the books. I think I got dragged against my will by friends who were like, "Hey, let's go see this Harry Potter movies or the Sorcerer's Stone," which in Great Britain is the Philosopher's Stone. But we Americans, we got to change it to Sorcerer's Stone. But that aside, I went and saw the movie. I liked it. There were things that were confusing to me, like the Quidditch, and that's because they don't bloody explain the game rules well in the movie. And you read the novel, it's quite clear why things are the way they are, but in the movie, it is not clear. So if they redid this from scratch, something like that is a fix that they could make, and it'd be fine. I think that once you start getting Prisoner of Azkaban was was pretty good. I mean, there was some stuff that was cut out. Stuff that was cut out of all of it. Some of it was fine to be cut out, and some of it was not so fine. Once you got to Goblet of Fire should have been 2 movies. There was just way too much cut out of the novels to make it even worthwhile. And likewise for the Order of the Phoenix and the Half-Blood Prince. It's just way too much cut out, in my opinion. And they did make Deathly Hallows into 2 movies, but I don't know. I don't think they did it quite as well as they could have, but that's just my opinion. But what are you going to do after this? I mean, what are you going to do? Have the core cast, with new. Well, if you bring them up with new actors, you can't carry on from where they left off. Otherwise, you would keep the old ones. So what are you going to do? Insert in new adventures that they may have had? I don't get it. I don't understand what you're either going to reboot this from the start or nothing at all, because the story as it flowed told one central tale. Yes, there were parts to it, but everything was all about Lord Voldemort coming back to life, and then Harry Potter having his final confrontation with him. So what else is there to tell? Well, I don't get what Warner Brothers Discovery could possibly do here, using the franchise to try to create new stories. I don't get it. Maybe. Well, no, they're talking about doing total recasting, which means Harry Potter, Hermione, and Ron, like they were saying down here earlier. You're looking at the original cast, new cast starting over. But the only reason you would do that is to start from the scratch. There's nothing else they can do. Nothing. And if they want it for a younger audience, to try to get a younger audience in, you got to start from scratch. I don't see how you do it any other way. And like I said, other than the fact that some of these books weren't, adapted as well as they could have been, there's really nothing wrong with the original Harry Potter movies. But I get that Warner Brothers Discovery wants to keep milking this cow, and they were hoping to do it with Fantastical Beasts. But Fantastical Beasts, I saw the first movie. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. The second movie was like, nope. And then I didn't even bother with the third. I had zero interest. So I don't know. This is just nuts. This is just really nuts. But I can see Warner Brothers Discovery wanting to do this, wanting to milk the cow, wanting to get all the cash. And don't get me wrong, as a fan of the franchise, I wouldn't mind seeing more stuff. But if you're going to use the original cast, the original characters, I mean, I don't know where you go. If they're adults, then I would use the original actors. And if they're kids, well, there's seriously. Hey, we're in the middle of Prisoner of Azkaban, but we're gonna have this other little mission where we pop off somewhere else and do some stuff, and then we come back as if nothing happened. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. And I think, short of doing this all over from scratch, it's a complete and total fail. But curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. We'll see you in the next video.